Hey guys, welcome back to my third video on theme. This time we're reviewing some of the theme triad stuff we talked about last week. Last time I saw you, I asked you to read All Summer in a Day by Ray Bradbury. Now, it's a science fiction story on a far-flung future of human space colonization that takes place on the planet Venus, but just about everybody realized that despite the setting, this is a very human kind of story. It's about a kid being isolated because they're different, and I think that's something we can all relate to. That's one of my favorite things about fiction. If you want to change somebody's mind, don't argue with them. Play it out through fiction. Fiction allows us to drop our guard a little bit and willingly cast ourselves into the shell of the protagonist so that we can experience things through their eyes. Margot being from Earth and having seen the sun, that could be any kind of difference between kids. It's less about that specific difference and what we make of it. Just about everybody caught on to that. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. Your job was to take 3 of the theme topics you generated and turn them into a when-then statement. As in, when X happens, then Y happens. And I noticed a lot of people left out the word then, and that's just fine. When X happens, Y happens. This first student took the themes of isolation, envy, regret, and bullying. And they turned it into the statement, when you bully people, you isolate them and end up with regret. I think this is a true statement. Bullied people are very often isolated. The one thing I might argue with them about, though, is the regret piece. I don't know if it's very clear in the story that Margot's classmates end up regretting what they did. I think it's a little bit hinted at the end, but at the end they open up the door and they let Margot out. It doesn't really say they regretfully let her out or timidly let her out or anything like that. But I think if you could find support for it in the story, you're not wrong. This next student took all 5 of their theme topics and put them in their when-then statement. They had isolation, persecution, divergent, and I think they mean when a student's different, like when they're divergent from other students, to borrow a term from the popular book series, education, and brutality. They wrote, when you are divergent and isolated in a place of education, you will find persecution and brutality. Now, I think this is a really true statement. When you're different and isolated in a place like a school, you might find persecution and brutality. Kids can be really cruel to each other, and I think kids can find anything to make fun of another kid for. This last one is one of the best that I saw. It's very simple, it uses 3 of them for the theme triad, and it's pretty easy to understand. We've got isolation, jealousy, bullying, cruelty, and misunderstanding. They generated the theme, when kids get jealous because they don't understand someone, it could lead to them being cruel. Now this is great, little English teacher thing. Jealousy is when you're afraid someone's going to take what you have, like if you're afraid some girl's going to take your boyfriend. Envy is when you want what someone else has, or you don't like that someone has something you don't have. So to make it even better, to tune it up just a little bit more, we could say when kids get envious because they don't understand someone, it could lead to them being cruel. Now, none of these were groundbreaking statements. I think we all know this. I think we all know kids can be cruel. I think it's very obvious that when you're different, it's really easy for people to be cruel to you. These are just really basic statements that these stories reflect. Now, the new one I'm giving you is The Black Cat by Edgar Allan Poe. Just like how we read Poe in September, it's a gothic horror story. It's about a man and a cat, and he does some terrible stuff to the cat. But I'll let you read that. I've linked it in your doc. We're going to do a very similar thing. You're generating yet another theme triad statement for it. I hope you enjoy it, because I really do. See you later.